piece of it drawing, and then we'll be ready to start. Okay, we should be live. All right, I'd like to call to order the September 23rd, 2021 regular board meeting. It's now 6:31 p.m. As permitted by the governor's executive orders, we are still meeting virtually. We continue to operate under a pandemic, and I, as head of the body, don't believe it's practical or prudent to hold an in-person meeting on today's date. Gail, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Kosky?
Here.
Dr. Mohanraj?
Here.
Mr. Arkin?
Present.
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Martieri?
Just like
Ms. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Martieri?
Here.
And Ms. Dixon Spivey?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so I moved to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, legal counsel for the district, and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of the public body that is subject to the local government wage increase act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with the statute. The purchase or lease of real property for the use of the district, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. Litigation on an action against affecting on behalf of the district has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal when the district finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered in the meeting minutes. And collective negotiating matters in the district and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees is contemplated. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, could you please call?
Dr. Mohanraj?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Martieri?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Dixon Spivey?
Yes. All right. So for any members of the public, we'll be back in open session at approximately 7:30. Everyone else, if you could check your emails for the closed session link, and I will see you there. Tom, maybe you and I connect over the next. Okay, we're live?
Yep.
All right, Mary Ann, folks, can you hear us? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, welcome back to open session. All right, so the first item this evening is, is the public hearing for the fiscal year 2022 budget. So it's a 7:42 p.m. I call this virtual public hearing to order on Thursday, September 23rd, 2021 for the Oak Parker Forest High School 2021-2022 budget. This budget was placed on display for public inspection on August 20th, 2021 for 30 days per state code. Notice of this public hearing has been posted on our website and appeared in the Friday, August 20, 2021 edition of the Chicago Tribune. And at this time, I'm asking for any written comments to be read. Gail, do we have any written comments on the budget? All right, we have no no written comments on the budget. It's 7:43 p.m. and I am now closing this public hearing. All right, our next item this evening is our employee recognition. So, ready for that?
Yeah, let's roll.
Okay. So we, on a monthly basis, try to recognize a few employees who have done an outstanding job. All of our employees do outstanding jobs, but we try to pick a few to specifically say nice things about. There's a better word for that I can't think of. Okay, so first we're going to congratulate Jill Espinosa. She was selected to be the Teacher of the Month. And here is what people who submitted nominations had to say. Jill is one of the best teachers I've worked with in the past 20 years. She's highly organized, reliable, friendly, funny, and incredibly easy to work with. As a co-teacher, Jill is a very active participant in lesson planning and teaching, so much that I don't think our students know which teacher is special ed and which is gen ed. She is massively helpful with making sure that our lessons meet the needs of all of our students in the class. As a fellow faculty member, she makes those she is working with better teachers. Jill will one day graduate from her Type 75 program and will become one of the best administrators of all time. So our administrators are on notice. And we're lucky as a school to have someone who's so dedicated to making her classroom and the school the best place for students. So we have a certificate of appreciation for her, which I think should be on the screen shortly. So congratulations again to Jill. Is she present virtually?
She is present. I see her. There we go. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Jill, I don't know if you'd like to say a few words, please do.
Yeah, thank you very much. I work very closely with the math department. I am in the special ed department, but all of my co-teachers have been in math, and it's been really great working with both the math department and the special ed department. And we do really try hard so that students in the class don't know who's a special ed teacher and who's the general ed teacher. I think that's something really important that I strive for. And when I mentor other teachers, I think it's really important to teach them that too. You're not just a TA on the side in a co-taught class. Like, I really think it's important that students are seeing both teachers teaching, both teachers planning, and that's just something that I've always tried to do and encourage others to do as well. So thank you very much. I really appreciate all the kind words. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your all of your efforts. I'm going to show our certificate, which I have in my hand, and which we will get to you, Jill. It's in a little frame.
May I also just add, just for a moment, that Jill, one of the highest of many joys that I've had over this semester coming back in person was overwhelming you in your classroom last Friday as a group of us came to announce this and surprise you with this. It was just wonderful to see your reaction, and for everybody at home too, to see all of her students respond the way they did in that classroom and huddle up behind her of their own volition so that we could take a picture, not just with Jill, but so that the students were part of the whole experience. Was just absolutely, it kept a smile on my face for quite a while afterwards. So Jill, it's so well earned, and congratulations.
Thank
That's
you very
awesome.
much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I could have just 1 second. All right, thank you. We now have another employee that we would like to recognize this evening. Ms. Teslin Sadowski. She is our September Employee of the Month, and here is some of the nominations I had to say about her. Teslin's one of the hardest working people in the building, and her work often goes uncelebrated. Ever since the shutdown of March of 2020, Teslin has gone above and beyond to keep the theater department thriving. She learned how to present Zoom webinars, and she was crucial for getting our first Zoom webinar for Studio 200 at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. The senior who had been planning all year to direct that show was able to fulfill her goals thanks to Teslin's work. She's been working incredibly long hours to provide amazing support well beyond her job description. I don't know how the performing arts in this building, much less the many other departments that require meetings and public events, could possibly have functioned without Teslin's energy, innovation, and dedication. Her work makes our school a better place for our students on and off the stage. She is tireless, and thank you isn't enough. So, Ms. Sadowski, I don't know, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I just want to thank everybody for the nomination, and also everybody that supports the theater programs and the theater spaces. And we're really excited to be back as we're doing a lighting call right now. So while Zoom was fun, I think the kids here really enjoy being back in the building and being able to put on live theater again. So we have a production running right now, and we're getting ready for Miss Holmes. So thank you so much for the nomination.
Yes, and thank you so much for your hard work, especially during such an incredibly hard time for our students, especially our performing arts students. Here is your certificate, which you will be receiving soon. Thank you so much for that. And then we have one more. And lastly, I'd like to announce a volunteer of the month, who's Christy Reagan. And she's in person, fantastic. Hello, welcome. Lastly, here's what people had to say about Christy. Christy moved to Oak Park from Florida in 2019. Ooh, hard timing. And immediately got involved with the PRS. She jumped in as our new membership chair and has done an amazing job recruiting new booster members. And we already have 10 times, wow, that's amazing, as many members as last year, and at least double the number from 2019. Not only is Christy skilled at her position, but she is wonderful to work beside. She's gone far and above for the Booster Club and selling merchandise at the farmers market, doing membership drives at local businesses, and working with OPRF to bring the boosters to a digital platform. Christy is simply a vital force in keeping the boosters thriving into the future. Congratulations, Christy. Thank you so much, especially as a newcomer to our community. So welcome.
Great.
I don't know if you want to say a few words. If you do, would you mind stepping up to the podium? Not to put you on the spot, but if you'd like to.
Sure, thank you. Hello, everyone, and congratulations to Teslin and Jill. I know Teslin, I haven't met Jill yet. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Booster Club is just amazing. It's been an amazing opportunity to jump into things here in the area. We just decided to appropriate $20,000 worth of membership revenue, merchandise revenue back to the school. So that's coming your way, which is pretty cool. Yeah, we're really excited about that. It was a lot of fun. I have a junior and a freshman, so I'm fully vested here at OPRF. Everyone's been super welcoming. And just in the last couple of months, I've decided to be a sub, so I'm here almost every day now.
Wow.
And it's been great. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Booster Club, amazing. Thank you for all your support with that.
Can we take a quick photo?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Why don't you just do it a little more over here? so
Okay.
the Fans aren't.
All right.
Why don't you get the middle?
Oh, okay. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Can you see my smile?
It's fine.
We
It's
can see your,
fine.
your biggest
Good.
fans.
Got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Nice to
time.
see you.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That was lovely. Okay. Make sure I got everyone. Yep, okay, awesome. All right, next up this evening, we do have public comments. Public comments are not meant to be a dialogue with the board, and they're limited to 3 minutes. Any questions asked in public comment, we will attempt to respond in a timely manner. Usually takes us a week or two to get to folks who would like a response. Gail, do we have public comment this evening?
We do.
Okay, let me get my little timer going. Okay.
This is from Catherine Murray Lible. Dear OPR administrators and members of the board. First, I want to thank you for all your service to our children and to our community. I'm writing to you today not only as a parent of a proud husky, but also as an educator, a former school board member at Oak Park, and a parent to children with disabilities. I fully understand the complexity of decision-making processes that happen in school environments. Still, I'm extremely concerned about the way that OPR has handled the rollout of the homecoming dance schedule for September 25th. Homecoming is a time-honored tradition in American high school. It's right up there with prom and graduation in most people's minds. It's on the list of don't miss it or you may regret it high school experiences. I think we can agree that the word homecoming activates similar feelings and images for most people. Football games, dances, trends, and fall weather. There are parts of homecoming that you need to prepare for, finding an appropriate outfit, organizing a group of friends, and getting a ticket. When a school communicates that a date has been selected for homecoming, people generally know what to do. Each one of these steps requires organization and money, and those are stressors associated with each step. Can I find and afford an outfit? Which friends of mine are going? What's the plan? Where, how do I buy a ticket? Here's the part that most people don't plan for. The rush to get a ticket before the sellout of tickets. People expect a concert to sell out. People expect Jewel to run out of certain items on sale. People expect that a restaurant may be booked. People don't expect that if you're a high school student and you want to go to your school's homecoming dance, that you won't be able to go because the tickets went so fast. Here's what most people do expect. Most parents and students expect that their school leaders will go to great lengths to make sure that all students have access to opportunities both academically and socially and feel included. Why is this the expectation here in Oak Park? Because we say it, we write it, we highlight it in our communications, we send out surveys to ask about it. We tell our kids that it's important. So why do we have a situation where some students are being excluded from the school event? Everyone understands that we're still squarely in the middle of the pandemic. These times are not normal. We didn't expect to be still living with this restriction. We all understand that it's not possible to do the things the way they've been done before. In fact, most people welcome the precautions and deviations from the norm so we can keep everyone safe. I know I do. If after looking at all of the available options, OPRF deemed holding a dance outside with people masked to be unsafe for a large number of students, then the school could have limited the dance to juniors and seniors. Alternately, dances could have been held at different times, even on different days for each class. Instead, the school knew that it couldn't accommodate all students.
Is it, how much more is there?
Page.
Okay, Gail, could you please email that to the board and we'll make it a part of our board minutes for this evening?
I'll email to the board, yes. Okay. Then, from Abigail Silva. Dear District 200 school board members and administrations, thank you for all the time that you dedicate to students in our community. My daughter is on the tennis team here at OPRF, and I'm here to talk about high school's girls and boys tennis program. The following 193 parents and students have signed on the following letter in support of access to tennis as a sport for all at our school and our community. Rather than rallying dozens of individuals to speak separately tonight and taking more of your time, we are speaking with one letter. We hope that you give these remarks additional weight given the number of people who have signed on in support. It's important to know that tennis is a sport with a low barrier to entry. A can of 3 balls can be purchased anywhere for less than $3, and a used racket can be picked up at almost any garage sale or at a play against sports. We have plenty of courts available for free within our communities. Importantly, only 2 people are needed to play, and it's gender neutral. Tennis is a lifetime sport with a lifetime benefits. A 2018 study of over 8,000 individuals featured in the New York Times showed that playing tennis adds 9.7 years to one life versus soccer, which added 5 years, versus running, which added 3.7 years. The goal of most kids playing any sport is to play at the high school level. Sadly, District 200 has failed to appropriately invest in the outdoor facilities necessary to host matches for the girls and boys teams in the past, particularly for the last 2 years. We are optimistic about future plans and are here to talk about this with you. As players, community members, parents, voters, and taxpayers, we ask you to make an investment in our tennis program and request the following. Please allow the community and tennis programs an update regarding construction and completion schedule within the next 2 weeks. We need a renewed commitment from the board that the courts will be fully complete for the girls' tennis program and community by early August 2022. Please establish a construction schedule for the reconstruction of the courts to be completed by August 8th, 2022, in time for tryouts for girls' tennis. This requires that the removal of current courts needs to be started by May 15th or earlier, and the construction trucks need to be relocated by April 30th. Our players need you to ensure that the job gets done, right, since we'll have these courts for the next 20 years. We need them to be high quality courts so that they can drain properly. We need your cooperation with tennis. We hope you cooperate with tennis coaching staff on company selection and select a reputable company and success with nearby districts.
So I get how much longer?
I have one more statement and I have 193 names too.
Okay, I don't think we have time for the names, but why don't you finish the statement, and then if you could email that to the board as well, so we can review the names, that'd be great.
The last bullet point was, we encourage you to consider adding a 9th court east of the current courts, which would allow us to host more matches. We thank you again for your time today and all you do to support student success.
Thank you, Gail.
And I have one more.
Got it, okay, for some reason I thought we had two, yes, please go. My timer hasn't started, I made it sound like I hadn't started, but it will not start until she starts reading.
Hi, it's from Kevin Fox again. And congrats on the saddest and poorest quote public comment forum going on in the Midwest. My thanks to both Sarah and Greg, who invited and ensured conversations with me after I last weighed in. I'm glad Sarah shares the opinion that this should 100% be your last virtual only meeting. It's a super bad look when all our kids are in school. Next time it rains, I'd love you to join me for lunch at a special cafeteria. It's so special. People move here from all over the Midwest. You have to live here to go to this cafeteria. Next time it rains, I'd like you to come to lunch with me. They have seating times. You can pick the one you want. What's exciting about this cafeteria is that over the course of a few seatings and about 700, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. About 700 people who are not vaccinated against a historically contagious and deadly virus are going to be sitting among us. No one will be outside because it will be raining. Oh, but don't worry, there's technology available to test everyone at the lunch seating. So we have the capacity of knowing who's currently got the virus. That seems too predictable. So what they've done is the people have to opt in and say whether they will be willing to be tested. Do they all opt in? No. Well, you can ask people who don't take a test still to eat lunch there. Absolutely. Okay, you're thinking. But at least you will be able to know who didn't even get tested so that you can choose not to sit next to them, right? No, where's the fun in that? Come on, mask off. Everyone's eating and talking and yelling, and it's a great time. But wait, you say, I have a young child, a grandchild, or someone in my home who can't get vaccinated. If I can add asymptomatic infection from one of these people, I could get the person in my home sick. I know you're the ones sitting on Zoom tonight while 3,000 plus kids don't get a choice about who they sit next to at lunch. So you should go, join me, I dare you, tell each other why you can't. Cancel everything else on your agenda. What is possibly more important than solving this right now? You know the statistics. The gambling with our kids' lives. See you in the cafeteria. Love, Kevin.
All right, thank you. All right, next up we have consent items. Does anybody want to pull anything off the consent agenda? And communicate. Do you want to pull anything out? No?
No.
All right.
Sarah, we just need to clarify that one discrepancy with the policy for first reading and the policy for second reading, that's all.
Okay, let us pull items B, policies for second reading and amendment, and C, policy for first reading, so that we can discuss that. It's brief, discuss it a little bit as a board. So I move to approve the following consent items. A, the open and closed minutes of August 26th and September 9th of the 2021 meetings, and a declaration that the audio tapes of closed sessions of February 2020 be destroyed. D, approval of personnel recommendations, including new hires, transfers, and resignations. E, approval of check disbursements and financial resolutions. F, resolution for mass transit exclusion. G, presentation of monthly treasurer's report. H, bid and contract for field athletic and extracurricular trips with first student. I, school maintenance grant. J, Pilgrim Church parking contract. K, request for approval of Apple Financial Services lease proposal. And L, request for approval of auditorium and little theater streaming solution. Is there a second?
Second.
Dale, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Martyri?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Dixon Spider?
Yes, thank you. All right, let's look at B, policy for second reading and amendment. I move that we approve the policies for second reading and amendment as presented below. Policy 1:01, school district legal status, 1:20, district organization, operations, and cooperative agreements. Policy 1:30, school district philosophy, 3:30, organizational structure, 6:100, using animals in the educational program, 7:230, misconduct by students with disabilities, 2:130, board superintendent relationship, 2:240, board policy development, 2:30, school district elections, 5:10, equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment, 6:145, migrant students, 6 6:160 English learners, 6:235 access to electronic networks, 6:255 assemblies and ceremonies, 6:260 complaints about curriculum, instructional materials and programs, 7:280 communicable and chronic infectious disease, 8:90 parent organizations and booster clubs. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and then, so Ralph, you wanted to talk about, oh gosh, I lost it. Where is it?
And I've got it. I got it real quick. So
Okay.
in section 2240, it specifically says that there will be a board policy committee that will consider all policy suggestions and provide information and recommendations to the board. So that makes it appear as if we should have a board committee on policy, but then in our policy for first reading tonight, when we establish standing committees, we don't have a policy committee enumerated in there. So I just think the easy thing to do is enumerate a policy committee in the 2-150 first reading so that these two provisions live together. And I'm sorry for missing the policy committee meeting yesterday, but I've had a week in the last 2 days at work.
We forgive you. All right, so let's not amend the motion that I just made and go ahead and vote unless others have other policies they'd like to ask questions about or comment on. All right, Gail, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Martieri,
Yep.
Mrs. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
and Ms. Dixon Spivey.
Yes. All right, that takes us then to consent item C. Let me get this open. Which is policy for first reading. Sorry, I'm struggling here for a second. It's not
Me too, it's not working.
You might be having some network issues in the building because we're all present. So I know, I did have to go with the manual. Ralph, would you mind, if you guys can access this at home, Ralph, would you mind making a motion for this policy?
Yeah, so what's the official motion? It's policy
Just
2
move
dash.
to approve, yeah.
I move to approve policy 2-150 Ray committees.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so Ralph, do you want to propose an amendment to this policy to allow for the change that you suggested a few minutes ago?
Yeah, so right under the standing board committee section in this policy, it said board initiated committees will be, and it identifies 3: committee of the whole, culture, climate and behavior, and community finance. I think we just need to add a 4th, the policy committee, so it's consistent with our other provision. That's all.
So you are moving to amend the policy to include a policy committee formally.
Yes.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
All right, are folks comfortable? I know that those of us in the boardroom, can you guys open it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, nuts. Oh, now I got it. Okay, great. Okay, all right, so we're voting on the amendments. Gail, if you could please hold roll.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yep.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj,
Yes.
and Ms. Dixon Spivey.
Yes. All right. We are now on to action items. Our first item this evening is tradition of excellence. And move that we approve the tradition of excellence committee nominees for the 2021-2022 school year. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Johnson, are you having a presentation?
Yeah, just really briefly to introduce the item, we have with us tonight our Director of Student Activities, Susan Johnson, and Principal Linda Parker. So I think Susan is taking the lead, so Susan, go ahead and take it away.
Our student council officers wanted to make sure that our students from our winners from last year got recognized appropriately. And so they wanted to recognize them this year in this year's festivities. And then we also chose 2 additional nominees for this school year. So total this year we'll be recognizing 4 honorees at our presentation in November. And our two new ones are Nathan Dudley, who is an educator out of New York, and then Dr. Charles Kramer, who is a psychotherapist.
Great, thank you. Do board members have any questions about the process or any of the nominees themselves?
Not a question, but I'll just note, since I attended the meeting, that I was really impressed with the students. I thought they prepared really well to present their candidates, and then they were really thoughtful in the detailed discussion of weighing the merits of the various candidates. We were spoiled for choice. It was hard to narrow it down to two. They did a great job.
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's awesome to represent the ones who, from last year, I know we had a situation a number of years ago where one of the recipients was overseas and was recognized the following year, and it was very meaningful. With that said, is anything going to be changed to the program? Because 4 people, it's usually a time crunch. And for honorees in one session becomes.
Okay, Susan, I know you've all talked about that. Yeah, thanks, go ahead.
So this year we're a little nervous still about gathering all of our students in our auditorium, especially in 2 back-to-back ceremonies. And so we're looking at a streaming option where we can have students stream it from their classrooms and still be kind of safe and not have 1,700 people in one room. So with that, it allows us a little more freedom with our schedule. So the assembly has a little bit of wiggle room with the timing so that we can bring in all 4 of these wonderful people. And then also with it being streamed, it's something that we have a little more control over the time as well with. So we'll make sure that we can include all of them, honor all of them, and make sure they all have the airtime they need.
Thank you.
Great. All right, any other questions? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Henry.
Who did she say? I couldn't hear her.
Mr. Henry.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Arkin.
Yes.
Mr. Martieri.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes?
Kowski.
Yes.
Dr. Monarash.
Yes.
And Susan Stein.
Yes. Thank you. All right, our next item this evening, our next action item is our Board of Education goals for 2021, 2022. These are goals, we do this annually, of course, and we try to set goals that we think that we can achieve. We do have another goal that we'll be presenting in October, right? It's a more general goal that I expect we'll be looking at student outcomes, but we need a little bit more time to determine the metrics that we would be using for that, so that's why it's not up tonight. But we did then have a couple goals that we felt like we were prepared to move forward with. So Tom had suggested a finance goal, and Tom, if you would like to lay that out for us a little bit. I mean, you did a great job, but if you want to give it more.
Okay, so the goal actually is very much aligned with what you may see if you reference the charter when we put this together. So to create consistency, this is taking the charter of the Community Finance Advisory Committee and putting down what the tangible expectations are as we transition and bring this group in. So the deliverables here are an annual and a quarterly report back to the board based on the agendas that will be built by this committee to review our financial picture and internal, external, et cetera. So that's kind of the short of it. It has far too many words in a goal that for me, but I wanted to align with the charter so others can come.
Do we have any questions or comments relative to this specific goal? Okay. All right, so then the next one I drafted was related to policy. I feel as though it's a bit ambitious, but also I plan on taking ownership for this one, so I don't feel too guilty about that. So this one would do some of the things that we discussed last time we talked about our board committees. And so it would be revising any policies to better reflect our current practices, determining what policies need compliance reporting. And I then was so inspired actually by our IGA meeting last weekend, which was fantastic, and Tom and our student Luke did an outstanding job. I'm proposing that we develop, along with our students, a policy around environmental sustainability. We've never, to my knowledge, done a policy in conjunction with one of our student groups, so I thought that might be something that would be really fun to do, interesting, and meaningful. So do folks have any suggestions or comments around this policy or any edits? All right, yeah, and then as we had discussed, sort of like having goals for different committees, I simply took a charter for culture, climate, and behavior committee, much like Tom had done for the new CFC committee, to put some structure to it. So Gina, I'm specifically targeting my questions for you. Or is this something that you feel is appropriate? Do you want to propose any changes? Obviously anyone can weigh in, but since Gina is the chair of that committee, I'm specifically asking her.
I don't have any changes right now.
Okay. All right. So are folks comfortable with these goals? Do they want to propose any other goals or additional goals? Obviously we have one that will be coming back in early October. All right, so I move that we approve the goals presented this evening as written. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I forgot to say that initially, so I apologize. Gail, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Martieri?
Yes.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Kowski?
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes. All right. Our next item, resolution recognizing the 2022 semifinalists of the National Merit Scholarship and the College Board National African American and Hispanic Recognition Programs. I move that we approve these resolutions. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, every year, thanks. Every year, we have our national merit students who come to us as a result of the achievement on the PSAT and an SQT. This year, we are recognizing two groups of students. We were talking about our students who are the semifinalists for the National Merit Scholarship Program, as well as students who are recognized as honorees of the College Board National African American and Hispanic Recognition Program. We are thrilled to announce that in both categories, we have a large number of students, 8 in both. So congratulations to all of our students, all of our nominees for their outstanding work. This represents really a pinnacle of work here at Federal Bureau. And I will right now read their names. Thank you, Sarah. Yes. As far as our semifinalists are concerned, Catherine Gearhart, Rebecca Gutierrez, Christopher Hedrick, Gabriel Wang, Maeve Mascarenas, James McConnell, Henry Scala, and Corey Yu. And in our second category, I'm happy to recognize Dante Berry, Alani Espinoza, Madeline Girona, Juan Gonzalez, Rebecca Gutierrez, Tier Jacques, Audrey Johnston, Zen Philpotts, and Camilla Ramos. Congratulations again.
Yay, congratulations to those students. Many applause. Well done. So I don't know if any board members want to make any comments or if we should go to a vote. All right, Gail, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Kowski?
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj?
Yes.
Mr. Martieri?
Yes.
Ms. Eisenstein?
Yes. All right, next we have approval of the West 48 ALAP intergovernmental agreements for the 2021-2022 school year. I move that we approve the agreement as presented. Is there a second?
You skipped a,
I skipped the budget. Go backwards. All right.
Anywhere you like.
Sorry, Cindy. I know you really want to talk about this too. All right, so I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2022 budget as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dorr.
Thank you. So we presented the tentative budget and then we said that we would come back if there were any changes. We did have a couple of changes. The first one had been on interest. The interest, we reduced it because our higher investments are going to be coming off and the investment rates right now are pretty low. The other one is employee benefits. We learned that the health is going to be 12.3%. We went with an 8%, which is 1/2 for this year, which is 4%, and then the other 4% would be for next year. Currently, we're still mitigating and working with the committee to lower the cost. The other three are, we had purchase services for $50,000, which is for faculty training related to freshman curriculum development. We have $49,000 for transportation. That's for field trips and athletic trips. And this is allowing for social distancing. And then the last one is the community support for $484,000. That was early childhood collaboration intergovernmental agreement. Reason it wasn't on the last, on the tentative is because we had received a credit. So we were just waiting for the dollar amounts. So those are the changes to our budget.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from board members on the budget? Tom?
yeah, I have a question that I would like clarification on, just to hear. So our budget, we have our 5-year projection model that we do that we use that then as it gets close, moves towards our budget. So from what was shared, our projection model was 85 million in the expenditures dropping, and our budget now is $82 million. It was a $3 million differential, I believe, between what we projected this year to be when we did that. And when was that done?
Are you talking about last year's 5-year
Yes.
projection?
So last year's,
Last year's would have been done for the budget and then it would have been for the, we usually show it again for the levy.
so that was but it was a projection model to mirror this budget time frame, correct?
Yes, it would have been, yes.
So
Proposed, yeah.
yes, so, and I asked, but would like to further understand. So what drove that $3 million change between what, because we talk about budgeting and how we can get accurate. So a year ago, we said it would be 85, now we're saying it'd be 82. What were the factors, please?
Some of the factors are the fact that we had some staff who retired early or dropped off. So when they do that, we always hire somebody at usually hire them at a lower dollar amount coming in. The other is the fact that we had $2 million in COVID. So with also having the $2 million in COVID, that is not in there in this projection in the projection, nor is it in our budget. We did pull that out. We weren't sure if this year we would have to put that in, but we did not.
Cindy, could I ask you to explain, you're saying 2 million in COVID, what exactly
I'm
is
sorry.
COVID?
COVID expenses. So I'm talking about COVID expenses. We did build a contingency in the 2021 budget that was in there. We did not build it into anybody's specific budget, but it is a contingency line. This year we took that $2 million out.
I'm confused. So regarding the specifics of the COVID, because what I understand this to be is what we plan fiscal 22, which is this the year that we're in, a year ago versus now what we're planning.
Correct.
So if I'm understanding you, when we were planning fiscal 22, we anticipated, we put COVID in for this year.
Sure, you would have still been putting some COVID in for this year because you would have anticipated that there might still be some expenses. We weren't sure if there would or not. So when we were building these budgets, that's what basically many of the schools were doing, was actually anticipating there could be some expenses still going forward.
Okay. Cindy, after the budget was projected last school year as well, we also, subsequent to that, after the levy last school year, we also made plan for several cuts, correct?
Correct, yes.
Could you speak
Yes,
to
on
those? That
individual.
had an impact on what we're seeing right now versus what we planned for a year ago.
Correct. So we also had the 1.7 million we had talked about in the levy. What we did is we went back and we went through everybody's budgets again. Everybody has a zero-based budgeting that we always start out with. And what we do is go through, everybody has to itemize every single thing they're doing. It's usually an estimated cost, but it's a very close estimated cost. So that's how we actually were saving money too for the district, because we also have where you don't have, somebody may not go to a conference year after year after year. So you may drop off costs with that. Some of the supplies you may not be ordering year after year. There's sometimes services that don't happen. One of them would be the student enrollment. We don't do that every year. So I plan for it the year it happens, and then the next year it comes off. So there are some expenses that do come off with all of that.
Yes, Tom.
So I'm back to the COVID budgetary item, just for clarification. So in our projection models, we then had COVID anticipated expenses for fiscal 21 and fiscal 22.
Yes, because yes, you would still.
And I'm just trying, was that the extent of it? Did we have it in for 23, 20?
No, we stopped.
It was a 2-year window?
Yes,
Okay.
because that's how other districts were also budgeting it too, because they weren't sure what the cost would be going forward with COVID.
And looking at the first item you said were staff members retire and resign. Isn't that customary every year that practice happens and that's the normal cycle? So,
It is.
So why would it not, I guess, why would it not be in our projections if that's the way it happens every year?
It is in our projections every year, but COVID actually, we had more people who decided to retire earlier than they normally were going to retire. So that's part of where you see some of the difference in that, is the fact that people were going to retire earlier.
Okay, so there's an acceleration of that.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, I have one other one.
Yeah, go for it.
In going to the healthcare discussion, okay? Because if you're, so for this budget, the increase is what percent?
4. It's an 8% overall over a 2-year span, because schools budgets are based on a fiscal year, which is July through June, but our insurance is based on a calendar year. So we look at 1/2 of what we're anticipating that we could possibly be charged for the insurance, the increase. Because 1/2 of the year is over already. Correct, July through December.
There'll always be that, and it will catch the next year. So you always have 2 halves of the year.
Correct,
So I just took the dollars in this year's budget then are 4% more than the dollars in last year's budget for this activity. That's 4%. Okay. And last year, the increase in the budget was
approximately 4%.
4%.
And this is also too, we've sort of looked through and seen what the increases have done back and forth a little bit. They used to in forecast 5 actually use a 7%. And we took that 7% out and we tried to look more realistically of what we were spending.
I'll follow up on that.
Sure.
And then I have two other questions. So we've been told that from our broker that we are going to realize a 12.3% increase.
We should budget a 12.3% increase
Okay,
to start with.
all right, and we know that it's going to be split over 2 calendar year, or 2 fiscal years.
Correct, correct.
Okay, but it's not making sense. Why are we only budgeting an 8% increase?
We are in the midst of right now, so the 12.3% increase is based off of the current plan as it currently exists. If we simply rolled that over into next, January, right, the next calendar year. We are currently in negotiations and conversations with our bargaining units in the school to make changes to those plans to bring that increase down from 12.3%. Our budget here is projecting, it's our best understanding of where that is going to fall for these negotiations. It could be below that, could be a little above that, but we think this is pretty much where this is going to have gone.
Okay, but we also could get caught in another renewal, right? Because this is for next year, you're gonna have half of this will go into next year, fiscal year. And then if we get another huge renewal, all right, that could push things up.
That would be the 22, 23.
Yeah, no, I know, I
Oh, okay,
understand.
okay.
I'm looking at
Yeah,
it.
a year from now, we'll be in the
Yes,
same conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
We're always in the same conversation because of the way it falls.
All right, then I have some questions on the 5-year projection.
Okay.
And first, I wanna thank you for splitting out the capital expenditures. It makes things easier to look at.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. My first question is that the current final budget is at 4.3 million. The last projection was at 9.8 million, and I'm talking about capital building maintenance.
Oh, okay.
So, you took, it looks like $5.5 million out of there. So what elements are out and what elements are we going to see? I know we had public comment about the tennis courts. And I just want to make sure that
While Ron is reviewing the data, responding to that, I will say that right now, Ron, could you speak to before you go into the rest, the timeline that we have in place for the renovation of our current tennis courts?
The day after the boys tennis season, we'll start construction on the tennis courts. So we should be done with the tennis court well before August 8th.
Yeah, that's.
and what's the scope of that work?
To mill down, I don't want to give you exact scope all the way through, but it's to replace that tennis courts, all of them. That's over there.
It's not just a resurfacing.
No.
No,
Last time.
absolutely not.
No, there's too much undersurface work to be done, too many cracks. It's going all the way down to the gravel.
Ron, when does the boys tennis season end?
I
Roughly.
think right after spring break, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not totally sure, but it's in the spring.
So April-ish,
Yeah.
right?
It ends in April, the season ends in April.
Yeah.
What date we can find out.
Yeah, I don't need the date, I just,
It ends in April.
good enough.
So the timeline, it'll be done in time for girls tennis.
Okay, great.
Now I got confused, but.
So did you find my $5.5 million worth of work?
This is the one that we started off with this month. This is your practice, and this is what we switched.
So what we did was we reevaluated the numbers that was previously submitted, And we went through and we took the estimated costs of some of the projects and made sure that it aligned with what was available with the 5-year projection. And some of the items that'll be done outside that need to be done, pushed out to like 2026. Those items are spread that all of the work that needs to be done is still there. It's just that we had to prioritize it a different way. So we had to line our budget with the priorities.
Okay, so you spread it out the later.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're also gonna present that as well.
Okay,
So
great.
you see the detail.
Then the other question I have is, when I look at capital project 1, okay, and I remember back in December of 2018, approving project 1 for $32.6 million. And I know that there's been changes, and the last changes that I saw brought it up to about $40 million, about $8 million more. But when I look at these numbers across the years for expenditures for project 1, I think we're above that $40 million.
Right. So that's one, you said it's about $4 million over, right? In capital?
But I just want to make sure we're holding that $40 million.
Yes.
Which is about $8.2 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Because what happened with it, at one point, they were talking about transferring the basement into the project 1, because that money was coming from the CIP. So that's where that became higher, was project 1. So it's still at the 40 million.
Okay, and does this include those 20 classrooms that are still out there that were not approved?
No.
This does not include those?
No.
Questions from anyone on Zoom? Seeing heads shaking, so if I'm missing someone, please jump in. Any town has an additional question.
I have a comment related to the budget process, okay? So I did ask what has been our kind of performance against a budget for 5 years, just to get a benchmark. You know me, I always like to look big here. So the last 5 years, what we have were, we were under budget by 2.25, 2.25, 9, and $11 million, which accumulates to $28 million. We're in a pandemic, but I would just say that if I think in the earlier years, frankly, I don't remember when it happened, but we had a process, one of my favorite processes, which was a, what do they call it, a rebudget, where we would like redo the budget in May or whatever, an amended budget. Okay, we have an amended budget, which was my analogy is predicting the weather for a day at 10 o'clock at night. Okay, so there's policy change. So now we're comparing, at least for recent years, what we landed on versus what we do. And so I think it's important to monitor and understand this as we sit there and open up and say we're going to add more here or do things, because we need to, the budget is intended to allow us to make financial decisions. One of the biggest, I guess, issues that I felt was uncovered when we had financial advisory review of things is that we were typically over budgeting, and then we were budgeting on top of those budgets. And that led to a kind of a spiral of expenses. And I'm talking back, 8, 9 years ago. So just to put it in perspective, but, from my view, a good budget is one that you hit.
I don't just.
A good budget is one that you hit, because that means you planned appropriately, because we're making decisions on that from a long-term perspective and the more realistic number. So I think we just need to continue to watch that, but this says we've got $28 million more in resource than what we had, if you just take these last 5 years.
And that's also due to the fact that we did receive more grant money due to COVID, which, would make a difference. Plus also too, we have to remember, it's during the pandemic. We were budgeting like we were gonna come back to school. We were anticipating that. So that's what happened. If you amended the budget, then you're gonna change it from what you actually did back in, at this time in September, and you're approving it. Because now you could say, okay, I could tighten up my budget because I know what's happened for the year. So that's what you do when you're amending the budget in March. You're going to just say, well, now I know. So that's the difference. Here, we didn't know. Our anticipation was we were going to come back. So that's how we budgeted. That's the difference in these 2 years. We went out in 20 and also 21 was entirely budgeted like we were coming back.
Questions from anybody else based upon that? All right, Gail, could you please call the roll? Mr. Henry?
What did you say?
This is a roll call on the budget.
Right, I didn't hear the name you said. It was kind of low.
Mr. Henry, I vote.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Ms. Gibson Spivey.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Burke.
Thank you.
All right, now the long awaited, I move to approve the revised West 48 ELAP intergovernmental agreement with OPRF as presented. I don't know if there's any presentation on this.
There really isn't. We got contacted last Friday by West 40 to say that there's just another one they want us to approve, so they sent it to us, and that's what you see here. This is a continuation of the services that we have had and do have in place right now. It's just a renewal of that process.
Any questions by any board members? All right, Gail, would you please call the roll?
I need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, is there a second to approve it?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Dr. Mohanraj,
Sorry. Yes.
thank you. Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
and Ms. Gibson Spivey.
Yes. All right, sorry, that one was my Waterloo. Okay, I think that's all that we have for this evening. So thank you everyone for your time.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, hey, I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
No, that's it. Committee notes.
All right, so I move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you everyone for your time this evening.
Wait a second. Are we really?